Good evening.
Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Gregory. Good evening, Micky, Antonio.
Micky is a listener.
Soon to be a speaker. Got Alan. Got Zach and 50 in the audience. Clover, hello.
Good evening, everybody.
I was expecting some elevator music by Metallica or something like that.
One day you'll get your wish. Your wish will come true. You have some heavy metal.
Got lots of the World Mobile team in attendance today as well. Hi, Joe. Javi. Zach, 50. What else have we got? Josie. Hello, Josie. Good evening. Karen. Enrique. Big attendance.
Representing, as they say on the streets of London. I might have an interruption in a minute. My son wants me to tie some string to his tooth and then kick the door shut to get it out because he's about to lose his first tooth.
Oh.
So if anyone hears, Dad, that's the reason.
So much for the tooth fairy. Sounds quite intense.
Warriors. What do you do?
Right, just going to give it a couple of minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Wait for...
I was going to ask Antonio, do you want to tell everyone how the smoked tri-tip went with Torben? Did you enjoy it? The meat?
The meat was amazing. I am such a bad photographer. I'm sorry, Micky.
Yeah, well,
But,
I think I've been the inspiration of some recent health talks. Whilst this is quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
Whilst this is quite embarrassing, it's also good to inspire people to get healthier. But I actually think it wasn't my true form, I should say.
No, you were very relaxed and not thinking about posture. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'll have to take another one next time you're here, and then we'll have to post that, and then everyone will say, "Wow, look at Mr. T. He's done so much exercise."
You have to take revenge with me because I'm out of shape so hard nowadays that you could take the same type of picture of me.
You actually had a six-pack the first year that I met you.
Yeah, and then you keep feeding me with hummus and meat.
Yeah, and you actually had a normal life the first time I met you as well.
I was doing sport, having personal life.
Now every day of the week is a work day. 6 a.m. is the same as 6 a.m. in the morning is the same as 4 a.m. in the morning.
No, but 4 a.m. in the morning is the hour for the Micky call, so that's special.
Now you're making me feel loved. Whoa, Hanna, we've got you up as a speaker today. How nice is that? How you doing?
Hey, Hanna.
Good.
You can start the introductions, Hanna. Tell us about yourself and your role at World Mobile.
Okay. So I'm just really happy to be here, especially amongst such a great audience, but also a great group of speakers. So I'm Hanna. I am the head of content for World Mobile. So a lot of the work that I do is just around the narrative that we build, the impact stories that we're able to tell, and just a lot of the communications in general as well.
Fantastic. Also a very popular member of within the community as well. You've been present on a couple of Twitter spaces recently, haven't you, as well as meeting some of our Earth node operators in person. We'll touch upon that in a moment's time. I think we're ready to go now. I'm Mike. I'm the marketing director at World Mobile. You're all used to me now from the various spaces, and obviously quite active on our social media accounts and community forums. But my role at World Mobile is focused on communication and ensuring that we're communicating all of the fantastic things we're doing across our telecommunications and blockchain work streams. Micky, you don't need any introduction, but do you want to say hello? I think we may have some new members in the audience after your appearance on a very popular Twitter space last week.
Thank you very much. Flattery will give you everywhere. My name is Micky Watkins. I am the CEO of World Mobile. I'm responsible for everything good and everything bad and making sure that everything moves ahead how it's meant to be.
And Antonio, also, you need no introduction, but for the new members of the audience.
For sure. So I'm Antonio Hernandez. I am the CTO at World Mobile. I'm responsible for all the software that we're building. And lately, I'm a fitness influencer. It looks so.
And James Tagg, how's it going in sunny California?
Hi, yeah, no, sunny California is finally sunny. We've had the least sunny year in record up until now, but it's now sunny. So I'm good, yeah. So chief architect and building out our stuff mainly in the USA at the moment.
And Alan.
Hey, Mike. Yep, Alan Omnet, COO and co-founder. So primarily tasked with planning and strategy, but I do spend a lot of my time supporting the whole team in delivering and executing on the vision.
And Gregory, where in the world are you today?
Well, where I live actually, which is Dubai. Talking about sunshine in California, I don't think you can beat the sunshine here. Neither can you beat the temperatures. Unfortunately, it's up in the 40s already. But there we go. That's 40s Celsius.
The sunshine beats you in Dubai.
Yeah. And I go out in the sun quite a lot, and I'm still pale. Never mind. But my role at World Mobile is to do, run everything associated with aerostats, airships, high altitude platforms, and other aerial platforms. That's my background, and that's what I'm tasked with helping World Mobile do to connect everybody in the sky.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Zach, hiding behind the World Mobile account.
Yes.
Master of ceremonies.
What'd you say, Mike?
I said master of ceremonies. You're usually on the decks with the background music and sound effects.
Yeah. Decided to take a break. A break today with the music. But my name's Zach Lilly. I'm the social media manager at World Mobile. Really, once again, excited for the end of the month. My favorite part of the month, because I know, just how special these community updates are, and I really enjoy it when we all get together and chat about connecting the unconnected. So let's do it.
Let's do it. Right, let's get into it. So to kick us off today, just going to a quick update on everybody's whereabouts over the past few weeks, because I feel like there's been so much going on, and it's always quite difficult to report on absolutely everything that's happening at World Mobile and what people have been doing. But yeah, in the past few weeks, there's been some really interesting conferences that we've attended. And Gregory, if I've got this right, you attended the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics Aviation Forum. It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah,
do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? What happens there?
Well, it's a very big mouthful. I was probably the only non-engineer in the entire thing. There were about 3,000 aerospace and space engineers from all over the world, the majority American, in San Diego. I was lucky enough to be able to see James whilst I was there. But it was wet and rainy and cold, which was a bit of a shock to the system. But this is an annual event where all of the latest technology in the aerospace and space industries is discussed. And I'm a member of a committee in the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics to do with lighter-than-air systems. And the lighter-than-air systems community, which represents all of the aerostat manufacturers, many of the airship manufacturers, certainly in the US and a few from around the world, plus academia, come together, present a whole lot of technical papers about the latest innovations. And we had a Lighter Than Air Systems Technical Committee closed meeting, during which I was given an opportunity to brief the community on what World Mobile is planning to do with aerostats and high altitude platforms. And this was really well received by the technical community because they told me that as far as they can all remember, this is the largest potential commercial use of aerostats in history, because aerostats have traditionally been used by governments, but very rarely for commercial tasks. And of course, once we start rolling these things out, they're going to be in use across the globe for commercial purposes, which is a real breakthrough for the industry. So that was really interesting and exciting.
Fantastic. It sounds incredible. And as well as that, we had Alan, Zach, and Ryan attending the World Token Summit in Dubai. Andrew and Mike attended the ITU Global Symposium for Regulators in Egypt, and that brings together the heads of national telecoms and ICT regulatory authorities from all over the world. So some really good conversations and meetings happened there. Josie attended the London Crypto AM conference, where she met with a number of leading players in the UK blockchain space. And Hanna, you were at Web3 Berlin, weren't you? And I'm not sure if you want to reference who you met out there.
Yeah, so earlier this month, I was at the Web3 Berlin Crypto and NFT conference. And yeah, it basically congregated so many interesting speakers, from the OG builders of IOTA to Dexys and just educators in general. And yeah, the highlight of my moment there was being able to meet Nova Earth Node operators, and just not just a meet and greet, but really get to spend time with them. And yeah, it was quite an interesting moment for me to be able to meet in real life one of our community members, and that was really awesome.
Amazing stuff. And also, we've had Torben, our blockchain lead. He's moved to Spain, and he's just round the corner from Antonio. So the bromance is well and truly alive. But it is a bromance focused on building and developing, some of which actually took place at Micky's house this week, as we saw in Telegram. What was happening there, Micky and Antonio? What were you working on, apart from meat and hummus?
Well, no, we put the smoker on, so Antonio arrived at about 9 a.m., maybe slightly before. We put on some meat on the smoker, some tri-tip in particular, if everybody likes their meat. We waited for 3.5 hours, 4 hours. We did a whiteboard session. We discussed actually where IO is going in the long term, and we discussed our progress. And it was a really very nice meeting. It was great always to see Antonio. I love him very much. And it was good to see Torben, you know. Very, very happy days, really.
Awesome.
Especially after the meet.
But this time there was no hummus. Next time there will
No,
be hummus.
I was missing that. But you cannot do everything at once, or I will get 10 kilos more.
Exactly.
And over in Zanzibar, it's been very busy with lots of Airnode deployments, which we'll touch upon later. RJ's been in conversation with the regulators in Zanzibar around our Aerostat and exploring some alternative options, as we discussed last time out. As soon as there's an update on that, of course, you'll all be the first to know.
Mike,
we've been quite active.
Just before you go on, I'd like to circle back to one other thing that's happened in the last few weeks, which is actually very significant. There's an organization called the HAPS Alliance, HAPS standing for High Altitude Platform Station. And this is a gathering of manufacturers of these stratospheric vehicles, both lighter and heavier than air, from all over the world. And we, World Mobile, have just joined the HAPS Alliance as a full member, because in the future, we're going to be deploying vehicles into the stratosphere as part of our layered network. And so although on the HAPS Alliance website, you won't see our logo this week, by next week, you will see it there. And we're going to be starting to attend all of the HAPS Alliance meetings.
That's absolutely amazing.
That's very exciting, right? What kind of companies are there? Could you give us
Yeah,
some name drops?
Airbus are there, Boeing are there, all of the big aerospace giants are there with their mostly, these long-winged stratospheric vehicles. But there are also some quite interesting lighter-than-air contributors like Sky, for example. But we're going to be talking mostly in the HAPS Alliance about our long-term plans to use these again for commercial use, because many of the high-altitude platforms are being used for both commercial surveillance and government surveillance. Of course, we're going to be using them for telecommunications. So it's again another use in the commercial sphere of these very specialized vehicles that are still really in development at the moment.
It's a wonderful thing. Thank you very much. And to be invited as a member is an honor, absolutely, for World Mobile, and really shows the progress that we're making and the respect that we've got in the industry. Good job, Gregory.
Thank you.
Great work. We've also been very active across the Cardano community in the past couple of weeks. There was a Cardano 360 interview that went out this afternoon. There was also the webinar, Micky, that you participated in this afternoon too. And Hanna, you attended a Cardano meetup. That's right?
Yep. There was a meetup in Berlin, and again, I was able to meet another EarthNode operator. So it seems we're quite active in Berlin.
Fantastic. Right. Moving on. First thing we want to touch on this evening is the roadmap. There's been lots of updates to our Trello roadmap. If you're unaware, we've got a live roadmap, which is actually project-based and on Trello, and it gets updated incredibly frequently, so you can see all of the progress that we're making across our various development work streams. But Antonio, tell us about the latest updates to the public roadmap that we've seen in recent weeks. There's been a few really interesting points we can touch on.
Yes, I've been receiving questions about several of the updates that we made. As an example, the commercial use of the DAD extension. What's that? So we have built a browser extension that the same than the application, the Android application that it's already in beta testing. It creates a DAD for the user, so they can identify themselves in the network. Why we mentioned the commercial use of the DAD extension? So we are building the website that will use that DAD extension as the authentication method for accessing the commercial services that World Mobile offers. Right, so the users don't need now to just have the Android application. They can also use a browser and connect and enjoy the same way. And they can export and import the ID from the application and to the application and in the extension. So it is just the basic piece of the puzzle in terms of identity in the World Mobile ecosystem. Right, Another update that I've been receiving some questions about is the automatically assigned free bundle, because people are concerned that we are giving connection for free. And I had a nice exchange in I don't remember if it was in the World Mobile Telegram group or in the EarthNode operators group around that. It's just a complimentary bundle that we give the users when they join, so they can experience without any hurdles what the service looks like. And actually is so complimentary that I would say that for some people it would take longer to register than to enjoy the bundle. So that the concern was, are people going to register a new account every time that they want to use the internet? And that's not what we are seeing. There's already a free bundle in the Zanzibar deployment, and people are using it very, very scarcely. And when they need a good connection, they go for the commercial option. So that's not one of the worries that the EarthNode operators should have. What else? So we also are working on the Scan for Points map and leaderboard. As the beta users know, we already have the Scan for Points functionality in the application, but all you can do right now is scan and give us some coverage data from where you are scanning. But that's not the only thing that you will be able to do with a feature. So we are creating a full gamified experience to help you enjoy the scanning experience. What else? What else do you think it's important, Mike?
Oh, it's got to be the inter-blockchain bridge, surely.
Okay, so the inter-blockchain bridge. We have tested a couple of bridges in terms of couple chains to bridge tokens to, and that's part of the long-term vision of our blockchain, right? We always aim to have a multi-blockchain settlement layer. So we need those bridges in order to fulfill that vision. I'm gonna give you much more detail on which chains or exactly how do we do it. But yeah, that's maybe we can move to the testnet update and talking about the Aya.
Yeah, so what are the latest developments with testnet, and what can we expect in the way of testnet updates in the near future?
So
is that Antonio that's gone offline, or me?
Yeah, Antonio went quiet. Antonio, critical moment there. Everybody's waiting for the answer.
Come back to us, Antonio.
Antonio. It's that meme that I see with the.
It's probably the batteries running out.
We're working during the weekend to test in our internal testnet all the features that we want to deploy.
Antonio, we
whoa. Let's go back. We've got to rewind.
The last 20 seconds you were gone. Yeah,
we lost you.
Yeah. What was the last thing that you heard?
I asked the question and you went. So what can we expect in terms of testnet updates in the near future?
I've been speaking for a while alone. Okay, so yeah, as I was mentioning that last week we had the EarthNode operation, and we had sad news to communicate to them that we had 1 week of delay in our deployment. We aim to deploy to the private testnet before that call last Thursday, and we found a bug in the Cosmos SDK, so we had to update versions, and we've been working on smashing all these bugs that we have found. And just before the AMA, minutes before the AMA, I received the news from Torben that the last one has been smashed, and during this weekend, the team will keep working to ensure that the internal testnet keeps alive for the whole weekend, and then next week, as early as possible, we will be able to deploy to the private testnet all these new features. We plan to have 3 deployments to the private testnet, and as soon as those 3 are working for some days in the private testnet, they will be deployed at the same time to the public testnet. So some interesting weeks ahead right now with the testnet.
Exciting times. And after testnet, what's the latest status on mainnet? I know we've got that target date of Q3. How are we tracking? And what's happening behind the scenes there?
So yeah, I just mentioned that the 1 week delay, but that was inside the buffer that we always put to all the estimations, so we can solve any unexpected problems. We are still aiming for Q3, so no changes in the estimated date.
Okay, and last week I felt very lucky to be present on the E&O call, during which you and Torben shared a very technical whiteboard presentation. I think I went into that presentation thinking I understood blockchain and realized by the end that I didn't. I know we can't share too much about what was shared there, but are there any high-level nuggets you can touch on for the wider audience?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we are going for this multi-chain vision where Aya, our sidechain, is a sidechain to many different layer 1 chains, and the the paper that we published in the, I don't know if it was February. When was the paper published? The days seem years for me now. So the paper that we published, it was focused on the connection of AJAX with Cardano, right? So with a single source of truth and financial settlement layer. The Earth-Node Operators call, we explain the wider vision, how we can do that in a multi-chain environment, how we can prove things from one chain to the other, not only bridge tokens, but proof data and facts that happen in one chain on the other, realizing the multi-chain vision that we had from the beginning. There's still a long way to get to that full vision realization, but we wanted to give the Earth-Node Operators all the context and all the eventual vision of where we are going and why we're going that way. As Torben usually says, we are connecting the unconnected, but that is not only people, that's also unconnected ecosystems in the blockchain world that we are connecting together.
Incredible. Love to see it. And our community beta, moving on to our global app. The beta is currently live. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's taking part in that beta. Your constant attempts to break the app and the feedback that you're providing is incredibly helpful. In terms of features, as it stands, we've got the data bundles management, which I was lucky enough to use in Zanzibar. We've got our DID integration and the self-sovereign account, the crypto wallet with fiat on-ramp capabilities, scan to earn, which is evolving to scan to points for the time being, and the marketplace. Now, the feedback on the beta has been incredibly positive, but yeah, I think for those people that are participating, if you do want to open your app now, you should see an update being pushed right now from Google Play, which is our new UI, a full redesign of the app. And for those people that are listening in that aren't participating, if you check our Twitter account, you'll see some visuals of what that looks like at World Mobile Team. So yeah, really excited to announce that live on the space this evening. I think it looks fantastic. Micky, I know you've been involved very heavily in helping to steer that, as well as some of the people in attendance on this space from the World Mobile Team. I can see Joe in the audience still, who's dedicated a lot of time and effort to perfecting this new design. So Micky, what's next for the app, and what foundation does this new look provide us as we look set to launch in the near future?
First of all, I'd like to thank Joe and Matt, who have been critical in creating this flow. Joe used to be the lead at HSBC Global, I believe. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. And Matt is a seasoned pro on the UI, and they're taking on a lot of projects at once. So this is very, very important, their role here. What's next for the app? Right, so eSIM, voice, VPN, but there's more to come as well. What use is the network without an application that can actually use the network in its entirety? Not just the air nodes for connectivity, but also the earth nodes as well. So what's next is coming is going to be huge. I think everybody's going to love what they see with the UI UX changes here. We feel like we're definitely on a roll, and I'm excited to see how this plans out for the next 3-6 months, and to get this in the hands of hundreds of thousands and eventually millions and millions of users.
Exciting times. And I was lucky enough to see the back end of Scan for Points a couple of weeks ago. I was actually blown away just by the data that was coming through there. Firstly, I mean, what's the latest with the name? I know it's been changing into Scan to Points, but what's the thinking long term with the name?
Well,
Micky?
We did ask the community to throw some suggestions a couple of spaces ago. So I think we're going to round up those suggestions, and then anybody that's listening now, we should make a thread maybe, or a poll inside the Telegram or on Twitter, and try and narrow it down. I'd definitely like this to be a community-led naming. And also we've got some ideas for whoever wins that name to accredit them with that inside the application.
Exciting times. And the data that we've been getting from the back end, I mean, how valuable is that data, and has there been any interesting discoveries that we found so far?
The value for us is unparalleled, right? If we go now, for example, and we use Ookla or we use any one of the institutional maps, you're talking about spending hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, maybe tens of millions of dollars just for the United States alone. This information isn't readily available for places outside of the United States. So for us, it's extremely valuable in the sense that we understand where we can deploy from this data. But it's also extremely valuable because actually we see this being a movement, something that people can take part in, can be a part of to help connect the unconnected just by simply downloading the application and clicking scan.
And I guess the big question on many people's lips, when iOS?
So Antonio and team have been pretty smart here. They have made most of the development in Kotlin. So pretty much 80%, 85%, maybe more, Antonio, I'm not sure, you can chip in, but it is ready to be ported straight to iOS. The way that iOS deals with scanning is ever so slightly different. So we're trying to find some workarounds there. But once we've got the actual full version out of beta into the mainstream public of Android, our full focus will go towards iOS. I'm using an iOS device. I'm privileged to have both devices, Android and iOS, but I would prefer it was working on my iOS. So when iOS, Micky is nagging.
Looking forward to that version coming out too. Moving on to AirNodes Zanzibar, I'm delighted to announce that we've just reached a very important milestone. I'm sure many of you keep your eyes on WMT Scan, and I know within the community there have been some bots developed that are providing live updates to that. But yeah, I'm delighted to say that we've reached a milestone figure of 400 AirNodes in Zanzibar with the latest deployment of 10 AirNodes today. But last week we had a monumental batch of 60 AirNodes in a single day, which included B2B AirNodes. So I guess the question is, what exactly is a B2B AirNode, and how will that assist the B2C rollout? Micky?
Well, first of all, a B2B AirNode is a very high consuming AirNode, but actually, I'm going to blow your mind here, a B2B AirNode is actually a B2B2C AirNode. So what happens is when a shop, a business, puts up a node to get internet inside their building, and they pay a monthly fee for that, they also serve the community around them. And they're also earning from that too, as well as, of course, the community being able to join and as they pass the network and have more coverage. So we've been working very hard for the last 2 to 3 months to actually get that model right. We've hit the drawing board a few times, and it looks like now it's actually beginning to function. So that's another step in the sharing economy, and that's something that we'll be able to replicate elsewhere as well.
Exciting. And in terms of targets for AirNodes over the next few weeks and into the quarter, how does the rollout look in Zanzibar?
The rollout is looking great. There's a lot of equipment down on the ground. We are working directly with hosts in order to be able to actually run this as a sharing economy. Again, I repeat, and I repeat this on a lot of the spaces that we have. I could roll out today 1,000 to 2,000 nodes. Doing that within a non-sustainable manner would just be suicide for a company that's trying to live from a sharing economy. So it's all about precision, but I think we've got around 100 to go. Or maybe more over the next quarter, depending. We're looking to bring on at least a couple of thousand B2B customers over the next 12 months. And then the B2C nodes, now, as you can see, we're starting to expand outside of the Stone Town area and more across Zanzibar as a whole.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be in Zanzibar and see the team in Paje, who were installing what was the first base station outside of Stone Town. And I'm excited to say, from a marketing perspective, we've got a really great piece of video content we're going to share in the next couple of days, which will give everybody an insight into exactly what's happening with the B2B side of things, but also give you a window into that rollout in particular in Paget. So really excited to share that. Moving on from Zanzibar, there was some really interesting news that came out earlier this week in the USA with Joe Biden announcing $42 billion to expand high-speed internet access across the United States. And with that release and that update, there was a lot of information and data points shared, which illustrated just how challenging the situation still is, even in the United States of America. So what's the latest with World Mobile USA, and how aligned with the challenges that were communicated are we, and how do we look set to solve those?
I think they must have been listening into these spaces, Mike, right? Because we've been on this we've known about this for the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? And we enacted upon it 3, 4 years ago to actually come up with a solution with the sharing economy to connect the unconnected and serve the underserved. It's now a big topic. It's now a big topic around the world, and especially in the United States of America. And guess what? It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this 40 billion that they have to connect areas in the underconnected or underserved areas in the USA, it's not enough. It's simply not enough. So what's going to happen is you're going to actually have, again, pockets of connectivity, but you're going to need companies like World Mobile. You're going to need new economic models like World Mobile to actually do the job. But we're very tapped in. We're speaking to several different states and their respective people. Actually, Charles Barnett, co-founder, business development officer, is the guy who is in charge of this whole domain. So if anybody wants to reach out to him who's listening to the call, they should. And we're there. We've got our finger on the pulse, and we're speaking to everybody that we should be speaking to. And in fact, they're actually calling us and saying, "Hey, can you solve this problem with your Aerostat?" So there's some things going on behind the scenes that we can't really talk about, as with all government contracts, but it's definitely going to benefit the sharing economy as a whole.
And James, I know you've been working very closely with UCSD in San Diego on something very special, a quantum antenna. What's the latest with development of that? And is there anything you can share on some of the work that you're doing over in California?
Yeah, so we have a group at UCSD that we're working with on long-range antennas. So long-range antennas in general. And obviously, if we're laying down coverage in underserved areas, it's a big advantage if we can deliver a signal over, say, 100 kilometers rather than 10 kilometers, which is a typical range limit at the moment. And we've been working on that with them for about a year. Now, I keep getting asked about the quantum antenna. Let me give you a little quick what is quantum and so on, so that when people ask this question, they know what we're doing, but I can't sort of tell you in detail. So when people talk about quantum, they mean three things: computation, communications, and sensors. So the computation is the cool stuff at the moment, because they just managed to reach one of the big goals in terms of quantum supremacy. And that allows you to, once quantum computers have been stabilized and scaled, to run quantum algorithms like Shor's and Grover's. Now, if you're in crypto, you know a lot about this, because one of the things that quantum computers can do with Shor's algorithm is break RSA coding, which means that they can read any elliptical code. And although Bitcoin doesn't use RSA for its storage, its static storage, it does use it in the process of moving crypto from person A to person B briefly. And then all of the other things like SIMs and so on distribute information using crypto, using quantum. So that's computation. So then there's communications. Communication is quite cool, because with quantum systems, if I send a message to you, I can tell whether someone overheard me. So if I say, meet me in Berlin, and you know that message was overheard by a third party. You don't meet me in Berlin. This assumes you're a spy, of course. You just don't meet me in Berlin. You don't act on that message. So that makes it safe. The third thing, which is sort of not discussed quite as much, but actually is more mature, is quantum sensors. So every hard disk in a computer uses a thing called a SQUID, which is a superconducting quantum interferometer to read information off the hard drive. So that's something that uses funky kind of quantum technology that is kind of now routine. What we're working on is quantum antenna, and that uses, we call it, funky quantum or advanced quantum, whatever you want to go, entanglement and so on, to improve antennas. There is a research project that you can go, if you type in quantum antennas into Google or ChatGPT, you can actually see one of the examples of a quantum antenna. So in that instance, they make an extremely narrow filter using a quantum principle. We're applying a different quantum principle to try and make the antenna go further, listen further. But I'm not going to tell you which principle that is today. At some point in the next couple of months, probably will. But at the moment, it's very secret. But we're building antennas that have longer range using this sort of quantum sensing principle. So that's a quick summary.
Sorry, you said you can get a quantum antenna in ChatGPT.
No.
Or did I misunderstand that?
If you Google quantum antenna, you will find that British Telecom in the United Kingdom is doing a trial of a quantum antenna. That uses principle, which is if you have two quantum systems that are oscillating at a frequency that are close to each other, if you put something on a frequency in between those, it produces an incredibly narrow band filter. And you would use that for IoT if you want to go very long distances with IoT. But it's not a high bandwidth long range solution. So what we're trying to do is a high bandwidth long range solution using a quantum principle, which I'm not going to tell you which one it is at the moment, but we will do fairly soon.
And we have a 1-bit quantum computer running all of that in your lab as well, right, James?
Yeah, I built a prototype, and obviously the very first thing you do is you build a 1-bit version, and so we built that in the lab, and that is giving promising results. And so I built a quantum computer in my garage during COVID. Is my strange and interesting fact. And so that is actually true, and I did do it, and we do see some interesting features.
Wow. I mean, I just baked some bread and painted a bike, but yeah, make a quantum antenna in the garage. That's one.
Yeah, and I had my wearing laser glasses and all this sort of stuff, so it was very funny.
Incredible.
And I point out that the lasers were intrinsically safe as well. So, always have 2 levels of safety in any system.
Bear that one in mind. And Micky, there's been some exciting developments over in our Asian operations. I know a lot of people saw our announcement of our initial batch of air nodes in Pakistan. There's been lots of work going on behind the scenes in recent weeks. Can you share an update on what's happening over there?
Yeah, definitely. So Pakistan is growing very fast. There will be updates to WMT scan in the next couple of weeks, or maybe even before. I think we already have anywhere between 40 to 50 nodes being hosted, running in the sharing economy and being effective out there. I know the tech team have been working very hard to support an integration for KYC in the mobile application. And again, it's something that is an experiment. It's an experiment that we believed was going to work, and so far is absolutely working. Super exciting stuff. It's a huge population of very hungry internet users who are underserved in most cases.
Incredible. And Also in Africa, we had our successful field test. There was some news around that in recent weeks across a number of different outlets. What's the latest from the ground in Mozambique and Kenya, Nigeria?
Mozambique, we're doing some cool things with Empower out there. We have some nodes down on the ground there as well. This is a work in progress, and there may be some really huge news coming out of Mozambique. I hope in the next week or two, but if not in the next week or two, over the next month. Nigeria, again, we're using Starlink as a backhaul. We've got a very good relationship with them, and we're working on some deployments. Kenya, very interesting. Not just interesting for connecting the unconnected local domestic market, but also very interesting for the travel sim market. So we're trying out a few things that will definitely grow the revenue through the ecosystem. If it works there, it will work everywhere. So those countries are moving forward. Our focus is there. The teams are there. And yeah, listen out. You'll see pretty soon.
Exciting times. And speaking of exciting times, I'm sure many of you heard Micky last week on Mario Naufal's crypto town hall with Scott Melker and Ran Neuner. And that brings me on to the kind of final section today, which is on our marketing. I know there's been quite a few questions in recent weeks and months since I started in my role. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity just to answer a couple of those. With one question being about Zanzibar. I know there's been a few questions coming in about, are we marketing in Zanzibar? How is it working over there? Well, the answer to that question is yes, we are. Of course we are. I think, from my visit back in May, which the objective of that visit was for me to get a better understanding of the market out there, the landscape, the audiences, and, the best way to do that is just to go and speak to people. So that's what I did while I was in Zanzibar. We did a number of focus groups, spoke to people in the street, spoke to our customers, people that weren't customers, got to understand their motivations and desires, behaviors. And I think one thing that really stood out for me was just how different the context of that market is out there. It's very much one that's driven by word of mouth marketing and face-to-face interactions. Zanzibaris are very much reliant on what are called wakalas for their access to mobile networks. So identifying that, the strategy that we've employed is focused primarily on face-to-face activators. So you've seen those guys on videos on our marketing channels, across our social channels. And that's been an incredibly productive and successful endeavor for us. And I think in recent weeks, we've been attracting hundreds of new customers each day from that tactic. And, they've also moved out of Stonetown. They've started to go to Paje and Nungwe, where we've had some of those recent deployments. So it's really, really exciting what's happening on the ground there. But in terms of World Mobile in general and the plans for 2023, my focus essentially is how we can build greater awareness of what a fantastic mission and project this really is as we move towards network launches and air node sales, and of course our global app starting to roll out to audiences all over the world. And the way we've done that, I mean, in typical World Mobile fashion, we started big, and as many of you, I'm sure, tuned in last week to Mario's Crypto Town Hall as a starting point. That's a platform that we identified gets, significant reach across the audiences that we're looking to speak to and engage and educate about World Mobile. So that's the start, but there's more activations planned with Mario and his team. So over the next few weeks and months, look out for that, because that's going to be really exciting. In addition, you've also most likely noticed that we're getting a lot more coverage. So I'm working a lot more closely with partners in PR, and we're taking all of the exciting developments and announcements that we've got upcoming and making sure that more and more people are getting visibility of what's happening here. And the results so far have been really exciting and really positive to see the impact on followers. We broke 40K on Twitter, engagement with World Mobile, visitors to website, etc., all increasing. So very excited to see where we get to by the end of this year. And of course, with some of the big developments that we've got upcoming, it's only going to accelerate and get bigger and bigger. So hopefully that gives you a bit of insight into some of the things that we've been doing from a marketing perspective. But any other questions that you have, feel free to fire them my way in the open AMA. But before we get to that, we did have some questions already from members of the community. A few of them we've covered in the update so far. But before we move to the open AMA, I just want to capture a couple of ones that didn't get covered. So the first one came from Joe. And the question that we got here was, will the global app have some kind of switch or solution to keep it simple for people who only care about the telco side and not the crypto side of the company? Well, I mean, I can answer that one actually, and I'm sure Joe, who's in attendance this evening, would love to give some insight into the thinking that's going into this. So we've not actually made a decision as of yet as to exactly how we would implement this, but it is definitely something we're considering in terms of creating some greater segmentation between the different user experiences. But I think one thing that you'll notice with the new update to the UI is we've got a much cleaner segmentation of the various elements, which are using color coding and different iconography to really create that sense of separation without having that switch, so to speak. Another question that we got from Joe is, will there be an option or a type of air node to set up an air node by the buyer, or is a deployment team needed every time? Micky, I'll put that one to you.
In the United States of America, you need a certified professional installer in some cases. We recommend that you do. You actually hire somebody to come and do this job properly. But in some cases, we think that there are certain nodes that you won't need to do this with, particularly in the travel sector. But I don't want to tell too much more, so I don't want to spoil the surprises coming soon.
Okay, and the next one came in from Where Pines Grow. And that was just a bit of expansion on the buyback program, Micky. So who purchases the buybacks? Is it monthly, weekly, etc.?
Well, first of all, let's talk about buybacks. Buybacks for us, for me, was seeing the vision come true. Now, they're slightly lagged in terms of the buybacks with the network statistics, but who buys them? Well, we buy them, the World Mobile Group. So we earn revenue. We then bring some of that revenue back. We give some of that revenue to the Airnode host and the Airnode owner. And then we go into the open market and we purchase. Is it monthly? No, currently it's weekly. It happens every Monday. Is that subject to change? Yes. Are we going to keep people on their toes so they can't guess when the buybacks are coming and play the market? Absolutely. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing these buybacks actually come into fruition from all the different countries that we're operating in. And again, this is a moment that I dreamed of, and a moment that I knew once we had buybacks coming in, the system's working. So more than exciting, it's quite emotional, but it'll be much more emotional when the buybacks are in huge figures. So looking forward to that day, and that day is coming.
Yeah, the sharing economy is coming into full fruition at the moment. We had another question from Who Crypto, which said, when Jacksonville Jaguars partnership seems like low-hanging fruit with the Fulham relationship. And then another question here that said, any other sporting teams on the horizon in regard to sponsorship? And who would we really like to see wear the World Mobile logo?
Well, we'd like to see Liverpool wear the World Mobile logo. That's for sure. And that's another ambition that I have, and I think that we'll make that in sometime in the near future. A Jackson Jaguar partnership. Well, it would be safe to assume that we might have talked or might know because it's the same owner who owns Fulham. Fulham are going to the United States. We're planning to do something with them there, but I can't really talk about any potential partnerships as of yet. Other teams that we're speaking to, we are speaking to a few. We get contacted by a lot, but we have a certain criteria, right? If you remember clearly, the Fulham was not your typical sponsorship deal. It was actually labeled as a partnership, and it is a partnership. You can see that from the beautiful videos that you've made and the engagement that we've had, and we have a great relationship with Fulham. They're very much a family club, and they actually care about the fact that half the world is unconnected. So I have consistent conversations once weekly with the commercial director. I know the CEO very well, and they're a great company and a great club, and they have good morals. So we're not really looking for anything else. But if something else comes along our path and it makes sense, then absolutely.
Yeah, definitely echo the sentiment on Fulham. And yeah, working with them has been an absolute pleasure over the past few months. Before we move on to the next question, actually, I've just had another one come in, which was closely aligned to the previous one on buybacks. Just a quick one to add to that. So, where exactly do the buybacks go?
I think Alan is probably best to answer that.
So currently the buybacks they're sent to a wallet which will be distributed in future as part of the part 2 of the EarthNodes rewards program, because ultimately it's about securing the network. It's about rewarding the EarthNode operators for providing their service. So, yeah.
They're being saved for EarthNode operators.
Okay, and moving on to the last question that we had pre-spaces that we've not tackled so far. It's a good question. It's one about the increase in unique user numbers on WMT scan. So obviously we've seen that increase in Aernodes in recent weeks and months, but what's happening with unique user numbers is the question, and I'll give that one to Micky.
Yeah, there's some confusion here, I think, in general. So I'm very happy to clear this one up. So in the beginning, as every good story starts, we gave away free internet in exchange, or free internet for some people for a long duration, free internet for some people for a very short duration, and free internet for some people for a mid duration. We wanted to understand how the sharing economy would work. We wanted to test our infrastructure. And we wanted to make sure that the people of Zanzibar, whilst they were doing that, were rewarded and that they were happy and they got something for it. So what you're seeing there is a drop-off of free users because the free service almost doesn't exist anymore. And now you're seeing paying users come onto the network. So although that number doesn't look like it's changing, it is changing. The balance is changing from free users to paid users.
Okay, so that gives us a bit of clarity on what's happening with unique user numbers on WMT scan. So we're going to open the floor to questions as usual, but before we do that, I just want to highlight James Tagg. We've only got a short amount of time with James left. So if anybody's got any specific questions around the quantum antenna and the work that James is doing, yeah, if you could kind of make that known, and we'll try and get you up ASAP.
Just don't ask about Schrodinger's cat.
Okay.
Yes, that's Stephen Hawking said. Every time I hear about Schrodinger's cat, I'll reach for a gun.
But you can ask, because you can ask anything. This is an AMA.
I don't.
Okay, so do we have anybody up to talk about antennas or hardware?
So we've got Nova. In fact, I'm struggling to approve him. Zach, you might need to jump in here and just...
Nova is in.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
He's in the house.
Nova.
Well, hello.
Good evening.
I don't have a specific question to James Tagg, but it was when he was telling about his work, his hobbies with quantum antennas, it was like Emmett Brown in his garage building some time machine. So it's really fascinating to hear. I want to thank you once again for sharing this community updates, and I know a lot of you have a lot to do, so thank you for coming here. For us, it feels like a family gathering. So I've always hear them these updates sometimes. I'm not on there, but yeah. Zach, I've been tagging World Mobile Team a lot lately. Hope you're not mad. And once again, I wanted to talk about Hanna. It was an honor meeting you. And for people who don't know who Hanna is, she's responsible for writing these amazing blogs. And you can go check them on worldmobile.io/blogs. So these really, the content is special. Now I have one silly question to start to break the ice. And it's 2 weeks ago, you have posted an AirNote location of World of Sports. And Clover, he has noticed this big black box on top of an AirNote. So I wanted to ask, what was that?
Clover, you need to send me that picture. I'm not too sure which big black box. It sounds a bit ominous.
So it's one of the iterations of AirNode design. Let me just share you. I'll share a link to the team just so they can see which one we're talking about.
Dark mode, right?
Yeah. So while I'm doing that, I mean, just for a bit of clarity, I mean, this is something that I learned during my time in Zanzibar, is that, you know, over the past few months, we have actually been undergoing testing of various designs and configurations to work out which ones were driving the most efficiency effectively. So the one in that photo is one of those variants. As for the specific detail of the variants, I'm not the person to give details on that. I'm just sharing a picture with the team now so they can have a look at the one we're looking at. So yeah, it's got the cylindrical antenna, and beneath that, it's got a separate box with the logo on. I'm not sure which variant this is.
Oh, okay. This is something new that we're trying. I think this may be okay. Rather than me think, I'll post the answer in the Telegram channel once we get hold of Magnus and understand what that variant is. But it looks like it's very fashionable.
It's dark mode. It's what everybody wants.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants. A light mode and a dark mode.
But it's a great question, and yeah, we'll put that to our AirNodes expert, who will come back with the specific details on that one. So, have we got any other questions? Anyone else want to come up and speak to the team today? Let's have a look. Surely we got a question.
I see a question in the Earth mode from Dodo. First of all, Dodo, you should come up sometimes and speak. It would be nice to hear you in voice. You're very much a key member in the community, and I like your questions, your straight shooting. It says, it was stated that WM will only wait so much longer for the Tanzanian government to give the permission to launch the Aerostat. Otherwise, they would move it to another country and start there. I believe they said the decision will be made by the end of July or beginning of August. Okay, so the decisions have not been made yet, but the steps in actually working with other countries have been in the running for the last 8 months. So whilst we don't have the explicit permission in other countries yet, we do have the invitation from the regulator to come in, and we are exploring that in the event that we may have to wait longer in Zanzibar to show exactly what everybody wants to see, but more importantly, to show the world how to connect the unconnected in a very affordable way. So updates will come.
Thanks for that one, Micky. Anyone else got a question they'd like to ask to the team? I think we've got one in the replies from Johnny Kelly just on. Let me just pull this one up. Is it gone? So Johnny's asked, is the DID exposed in the World Mobile app something that can and should be shared publicly? If so, what use case for sharing your DID publicly is there currently? That's got to be one for Antonio.
Yeah, sure. I was unmuting myself. So yeah, one of the first ones was pointed by Trident in the chat after the question, which is the DID contact book, right? One of the and in the current format, it's a weird string that you can share, but we will include more utilities on how to share the DID, like QR codes, etc. So you can scan the QR code of the DID of somebody else and add them to your contact book. And what that will enable is, for example, to be able to say, okay, I want to send Johnny some WMT, and instead of asking Johnny, hey, send me a message with your address, I just have him in my contact book. So I just go to the wallet and say to the wallet, hey, send some WMT to Johnny. And that's one of the first things that we are going to do with the DID. But several more will come. I'm sorry if I sound distracted, but my daughter Ada is here. Hola. She escaped.
I love it. Hola, Ada. ¿Todo bien?
She cannot hear you. I'm with the headphones, but she's shooting air at me with air gun right now.
Warrior children.
Ada, come. Say hello. She's shy now. So I hope that answers your question, Johnny.
Thanks, Antonio.
We've got Mike, another Mike. It says Mike speaker. It's quite confusing. Which one are you? A speaker or a mic? Just waiting for him to connect. Oh.
Come on, Elon. Fix Twitter. What's going on?
Here we go. Mike. Great to meet you.
Loving the logo.
Slick. Mike, you're on the mic.
But you're
not going to take credit for that one. That one's Zach.
But Mike, your mic is muted.
Mike, unmute the mic.
Okay, we're going to run out of mic
Can you hear me?
puns. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a quick question about the buyback program. I was wondering if there is a specific algorithm that you guys use to determine how buybacks work, as far as what quantity is bought back, and does that fluctuate over time based on how many users are on the network? Just wondering how that's being fleshed out over time.
Currently, it's a fixed algorithm. So we take a percentage, but we're working towards an automated buyback. But as you can imagine, if we get that wrong, there's going to be an issue. So over time, this will become automated and will become dynamic. But as it stands today, it's just on a fixed percentage of the total revenue that's coming through.
Thank you.
And I should say that's not really reflective yet of all of the countries that are live and all of the countries that are working. It's actually only reflective of one place, which is Zanzibar.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool name, Mike.
Have we got any more questions? You can check Twitter, check Telegram as well, just to see if anybody wants to type a question rather than speak. It can be quite daunting at times.
Johnny, say hi to your mum. Tell her you're an amazing asset to the community and we very much appreciate you. I just saw what you wrote in the Earthnet operator chat. I think everyone realizes that the team need an early night, not bombarding us with questions. Where's the when mainnet question? Come on.
All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I guess we'll wrap it up there. I just want to say thank you for everybody who's tuned in this evening. We really appreciate you. Together, we are stronger. And we look forward to speaking to you next time.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's been more than a pleasure. Nova, I just wanted to say I didn't appreciate. I didn't say that I appreciated your comment, and we're here because of you, and we're going to connect the unconnected because of all of you, and we're going to make sure the sharing economy grows to be the biggest thing that's possible because of you. So it's a pleasure to take the time out to update our community, and it's an honor to be called the family. And thank you very much. Good night. Over, but not out.
Good night, everyone. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Adios.
Have a good one. Bye.
Night. See you later, guys.